All right. Okay. So please, once again, please just pardon me. I don't really know what happened. My laptop has refused to come on and all of that. But then I have to present today because I'm scheduled for today. Okay. So today I'm actually going to be talking about Python in healthcare. Um, Python in healthcare. So Python is a programming language. I am part of the Python/data science team. Python is one of the programming languages we have, and it is actually very, very useful in healthcare. Okay. Python has aspects. One of the aspects of Python is NLP. NLP is natural language processing. So it's more like you can call it a branch in Python or a branch of Python that is used to gather information. I think I've mentioned that before. I think one of the presentations like that, I mentioned about a case study where a doctor was about to lose his license, a UK-based doctor now was about to lose his license because of something he had to do with a lady, and the lady filed a rape case against him. The only way he was vindicated was because they were able to get a full history of their chart, and to do that, NLP was used, right, to put together all of the conversations they've ever had. And through that conversations, they were able to, I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't call it evidentially proof. I wouldn't call it an evidential proof, but then they were able to prove to some extent that the rape case was not true and all of that. So that was how his license was retained. And okay, and also aside that, that's why I mentioned this because I've stated here that it is used to gather information. NLP has this capacity to be able to accommodate as many information in human language as you want it to accommodate. So another branch in Python is also the ML and AI, okay, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So we use it to improve services, and of course, we are all using ML and AI in some form. Python is also used to predict disease diagnosis, and is also used to automate routine tasks. I think those are part of the things we are going to look at today. Please next slide. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the challenges in healthcare. I would mention how Python bridges the gap, what gap bridges the gap in healthcare helps to reduce the challenge in healthcare. I'm also going to speak about Python's role in healthcare innovation and ethical consideration, and I would have questions for this next slide. Okay, so Python provides a robust ecosystem of open source libraries for working with healthcare data. These tools enable efficient data cleaning, analysis, and modeling for real-world medical use cases. Healthcare is actually an ever-growing industry, like we all know. There are a whole lot of advancements taking place in the healthcare sector. And today I'm mentioning to us that Python is actually pivotal in these innovations. So Python is more like one of the most popular programming language we can think of. Okay, if, for instance, people that do not have any idea about coding languages, programming languages, they are told to mention programming languages they've heard of or they know. It is very impossible for that person not to mention Python. Okay, now, not just because Python is quite used by a whole lot of persons, because it is easy to read and easy to understand. So Python makes use of our everyday language. It's unlike HTML, where you need to understand the tags and all of that, how to put the tag and all of that. Python, you don't really need to know how to put a tag or anything. You just need to know how to write the syntax. just know how to write something, and it uses everyday English language. Right? Then another good thing about it is that it is garbage in, garbage out. It's also very easy to understand. Okay. Yeah, so this picture I have here, I've mentioned some top healthcare uses, Python's top healthcare uses, medical research, predictive analytics, image-based diagnostics, pattern recognition, patient management apps. So that's like the top healthcare uses of Python. Please next slide. All right, so in as much as we know that the healthcare sector is an ever-growing sector, it is also what's the word now? Common to have challenges. Whatever system is growing, of course, there will be challenges to and sort of setbacks or hurdles that people need to overcome. That's actually generally that's actually a sign of growth. When you have several hurdles, you just need to overcome every day. It shows you are growing. So you're not growing when you don't tackle challenges. All right. So even in our healthcare sector, there are challenges. And what are the challenges we have? I've mentioned just a few here: underutilization of preventive care, access to care, patient education and engagement, mental health services, chronic disease, and all of that. So let me just explain a few. Now, when we say underutilization of preventive care, why is that a challenge? That's a challenge in healthcare because most of the situations we have in the hospitals and all of the medical environment can be prevented. But people are not making good use of the preventive measures. So people just wait for issues to escalate. Okay, a very practical instance now is sugar is not so good for the body, and which everybody is supposed to know. But then there are still people that would always say, I've heard someone make use of this cliche, something must kill a man. Okay, so imagine having such a notion. You just go about doing these things that you know would ultimately lead to something disastrous. You just keep doing it, and you find yourself in that situation where you can no longer help the situation. You not take yourself to the hospital. That's a challenge because at the hospital every day you have people trooping in with emergency situations. I understand that there are some inevitable situations, like let's say accidents. Yes, those are situations you cannot be in control of. All right, but there are other situations that can be avoided, and I've mentioned the issue of diabetes, and also another good example is cancer. All right. I know that there are situations where you've done all of the preventive measures, but you just still find yourself in that condition. But it's better if people utilize preventive care more. Avoid canned foods. Try to eat fresh foods. Try to cook your food and just avoid the junk. So it will help to reduce these things. I'm not speaking as a medical practitioner now, but because I'm talking about healthcare, so I just have to dive in a little. So that's a challenge in healthcare. People are underutilizing preventive care. All right. Then access to care is also a challenge. And a good example is the rural areas. You can use the undeveloped countries, for instance, or the developing countries also, for instance. A whole lot of persons do not have access to care. A whole lot of persons are not educated, and the patient education and engagement is also a challenge to healthcare. How a whole lot of persons that find themselves in critical conditions are there because they lack the education to know what preventive care is. They lack the education to know how to engage in this healthcare. Chronic disease management, yes, is also a challenge, and medical medication adherence. So I'll just mention the rest so that I can go over that. I think the slides are in then post-acute care follow-up, social determinants of health, health equity, and health equity and technological integration. So these are challenges in healthcare. Health equity, you see people are in very critical conditions, and when you go to the hospital, the first thing they are concerned about is first thing that they are concerned about is the insurance you have. Right, so they'll start checking all of those things before even attending to you. So that is also a challenge in healthcare, because there are some situations that are very critical and need urgent attention, but then they can't just keep giving this urgent attention without checking, sorry, without checking for, yeah. They can't just keep giving the subject attention without checking for if people's insurance actually cover their bills, are able to cover their bills, especially when they know that these persons are not that financially buoyant. So it's also a challenge in healthcare. Why can't they just dive in straight into giving out medication? If they keep doing that, how would they sustain the hospital? How would they maintain the hospital? How would they sustain the workers in the hospitals? You see, so even if yes, we all want to think that they are there to save lives, we need to balance things. They are there to save lives very well, but then they also need resources to keep the workers and the hospital going. So another challenge is technological integration. And that is very common in developing countries and the undeveloped countries, underdeveloped countries. So a whole lot of persons have not embraced technological integration in healthcare system. They are still bent on the traditional way of doing things, and it's really causing a limitation, because humans, we are limited. Okay, there are instances where your precision is not accurate enough. There are chances for weakness, as there are chances where they're not just in the right frame of mind, and you just go about messing up. But then we cannot have that with technology. We cannot have that with machines. So if hospitals and medical centers are not integrating technology into their healthcare, it will pose a challenge, because a whole lot of lives would be lost. All right, so please, next slide. Okay, so now the main reason why I am actually speaking on this topic, I want to talk about how Python bridges the gap in healthcare. So I'm going to be focusing more on how Python is useful in programming language. So technological integration in healthcare involves adopting and effectively using digital health solutions, such as electronic health records, telehealth, mobile health apps, artificial intelligence to improve health outcomes and enhance patient care. Okay, so how does Python bridge the gap in healthcare? Python is bridging the gap in healthcare by making provision for telehealth. Okay, so please, can you hear me? Please, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so Python is bridging the gap by making provision for telehealth. What is telehealth? Telehealth is a situation where it's more like having your health checked without physically being in a hospital. So utilizing telehealth services over in-person visits can overcome geographic and temporal barriers. So we've mentioned that a challenge in healthcare is access to care. So telehealth helps to bridge that gap, the gap caused by access to care. If people are able to have access to health care without necessarily being available in person, without necessarily seeing a doctor in person, and Python can do that, right? Uh, just writing a programming language where you get, okay, looking at the illustration I gave you, you can see that's a mobile phone in between, and you see it is bridging the gap of getting a nurse in person, an ambulance in person, and all of that, the medical records, the doctor, everything, you can just do it on your smartphone. So you can book an appointment, you can actually talk about maybe if something is wrong with you, you get an instant answer. Just the very same way you can search anything on Google and you get an instant answer without necessarily looking for who uploaded the information. So that is aspect in which Python is helping. And we are not really seeing that in where we are, okay? You can't really find that in underdeveloped countries. But then the developed countries, and let's just say a bit of the developing ones, are able to incorporate technology into their healthcare system, and that is helping to bridge that gap of access to care. So another thing is your mobile health clinics. I think it's more like the same thing. So you don't necessarily need to go to the clinic to tell the doctor I'm having headache. You can have that being done on your phone. Maybe a good way to explain would be like for ladies. I don't really use it, okay, but you see that there is an app that you can use to track your ovulation. So if you're the kind of person you are very, very, very busy, the app can help to send a reminder. Okay, now that's something that's possible because of Python and as well every other programming language. So now that helps to ensure that your health, while you're working and trying to make ends meet, your health is not left aside. Your health is not kept at a distance. So patient portals is more like utilizing secure online portals that allow patients to access their health records, lab results, and treatment plans. These portals can also facilitate communication with healthcare providers, enabling patients to ask questions and receive clarification. So it's more like the same thing with your telehealth. You have a portal where you don't need to be, a whole lot of persons underutilize preventive care because of time. Yes, time is also another factor. All people think about is before I will be able to I'll get past the queue, I'll meet in the hospital to get a card because of course when you get there, the first thing, it doesn't matter if you are dying, you need to get a card, you need to register, you need to wait for the doctor to finish with the other patient before a doctor gets to attend to you. Maybe that situation has to be way beyond critical. You have to be left to 12% chance of living. That's when, okay, the doctor can be hurried to come to you and you must have the money for that. Okay, so imagine if you do not have the money for that. I mean, the truth is your life will not be regarded as much. But with patient portal, you can easily have access to your medical reports. You can easily have access to your lab results. You can easily have access to maybe a particular doctor on duty where you can just leave a message and then you are responded to. So it has helped to bridge that gap that can be caused by time. So you end up not underutilizing preventive care, but you maximize preventive care just to ensure that a whole lot of deaths caused by certain situations, certain conditions is reduced. All right, please next slide. I'm almost running out of time. Okay, please next slide. So Python's role in healthcare. One of the Python's role in healthcare is identification and risk stratification of cirrhosis patients. So Python has done so well in helping to identify and risk stratify cirrhosis patients. Who are cirrhosis patients? Cirrhosis patients are people that have issues with their liver. Okay, so what has it done? It has helped to identify patients with issues with their liver. Okay, so it's cirrhosis of the liver is more like a chronic liver damage from a variety of causes leading to scarring or liver failure. So instead of you getting to that fatal stage of liver failure, Python has stepped in to be able to identify the patients that have this possibility of cirrhosis. Okay, so now what will happen is that once it is identified, you cannot actually undo whatever damage has been done, but you can help to prevent. Now the doctors can now step in to prevent further damage, and Python has done so that this particular illustration I have here is more like the processes that were involved for Python to be able to get this done. And an aspect of it that was used is deep learning. Deep learning is also a branch in Python, and that's why I said Python is more like a can't do without programming language today. This next slide, I'll just brush over everything. Okay. So another thing Python has helped out with, it has helped out with automation, all right? So the aspect where I mentioned the patient's portal, the telehealth and all of that, that is possible with automations. There is, when you write codes with Python, you mostly use it for automation, something that can keep happening by itself without you necessarily controlling it from the back end. Another aspect in this automation is that it has been used, using Python to automate the detection of heart abnormalities from images, such as chest X-ray, can speed up decision making and reduce diagnostic errors. So the image you have here is for cardiomegaly. What's cardiomegaly? Cardiomegaly is a situation, all right, or you can call it an enlarged heart. It's a situation whereby the heart is looking bigger than its normal size. It's looking larger than its usual size. So, okay, so once it's larger than its normal size, medical health practitioners have helped us to understand that once the heart is larger than its normal size, it makes it difficult to pump blood. So Python has actually stepped in to help in detecting, okay? It has helped to detect these heart abnormalities. So traditionally, once, okay, maybe the person is having difficulty with maybe circulation of blood, you carry out chest X-ray, carry out several X-rays just to check the state of the heart. But now Python has come in to help with that particular process. So it can help to detect these heart abnormalities from images. You don't really need a doctor looking at it left, right, and center. Once these images are actually passed through whatever system is developed, whatever machine is developed that has Python as its backend, it will help to detect the heart abnormality. And also, thoracic conditions such as pneumonia require quick reactions from healthcare providers. Physicians use radiology images to diagnose pneumonia. So this automation is also useful in the detection of pneumonia. Since radiologists would actually make these chest images, chest X-rays, and Python has helped to understand, and has helped to read these images and can actually detect. It has been tried over, and I think it has had about a 45, or let's say, I think roughly 80% accuracy, and that's something to celebrate. So the Python-based AI algorithm can analyze X-rays and other medical images to detect pneumonia, then automatically alert healthcare providers to offer appropriate treatment. You see where the mobile clinic comes in and the patient portal. Now, the person can just simply rush for his or her X-rays. All of these things are done online. The X-ray result and all of it can be done online, and Python will help to detect if this person actually has pneumonia or doesn't have pneumonia. And of course, healthcare practitioners will be alerted and assure the patient, so the patient can maybe leave whatever he or she is doing and try to go for a preventive care that would help to prevent any form of escalation in that particular medical condition. Okay, please, the next slide. So that image is showing, the first image is showing the normal size of the heart, and the second image was actually showing a kind of an enlarged size of the part. Python has also been used. Thank you. No, the next slide I was waiting for you. All right, so Python has also been used in drug discovery, and what you see there is PyMol. PyMol is more like Python molecule. So a good example of using Python in drug discovery is AstraZeneca's PyMol. All right, AstraZeneca is one of the companies leveraging Python to speed up drug discovery. PyMol is a powerful tool for displaying the 3D structures of disease targets. The tool has 12 different stereo visualization modes that allow users to competently highlight and differentiate various structural features in the target. Scientists use these tools to find the appropriate binding sites for drug molecules. So Python is actually invaluable. Please let's move to the next slide. I won't stay too long with that. Okay, so Python has also been used in electronic health records, EHRS. So electronic health records, or you can call it EMRS, electronic medical records. So the image you're seeing here is electronic records, health records. We don't really need the traditional files. We don't really need the traditional folder. You hear, you go to the hospital, you're having a critical condition, and a nurse or whoever is telling you, go and get your folder. And you now got that, oh, I remember when I took a friend, she was actually very ill, took her to the hospital. They couldn't find her folder. And we saw like thousands of folders. So we're the ones that went there to start searching for her folder because they were not even, we were coppers. So they were not even attending to us. They were just attending to other persons that had the money. And she was here, like she was critical, she was ill, she couldn't move. I just had to go start searching for her and I asked her, when did you get the folder? Let's use that to search and all of that. Imagine that. So what Python has come in to reduce that. You don't really need folders. Everything can be put online. You can even collaborate with doctors that are not even within your geographical zone. Collaborate with doctors and to get a reasonable treatment care for a sick patient. Please let's move quickly. All right, so Python is very, very useful. Please, can we go to the next slide? All right, so it has also helped with administration, and I wouldn't want to explain that, but the image explains everything. We have the side of the patients where the electronic health record is helping. We also have the side of the doctors, the medical practitioners, where this Python has helped to reduce their work. Okay, so you don't need to be writing and writing. They just need to store everything in a database and they can easily draw it up, and that helps with administration. Okay, please, can we move to the next slide? Let's move to the next slide. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so now I'll just finally talk about the ethical consideration. Python is useful and we have tried to prove that in my little capacity, but then it's also important that when we are developing AI tools, we need to have, the tools have to have ethics at its peak. We need to consider some ethical, we need to consider some ethical standards. One of it is that that particular app or whatever you are developing, that particular tool should avoid unfair bias, okay? Don't generate a tool that is biased, differentiating between people. Don't generate a tool that is not governable, all right? So it should have privacy. It should also have laws, all right, governing that particular tool. Then it should be human-centered, all right? Your tool, whatever you are developing, should not be for a selfish gain, but it should be human-centered. The essence of incorporating AI and ML into our daily lives is to make life better. So your tool should also be doing that. It should be reliable and safe, yes, especially using it for medical health records. It shouldn't be something that someone can easily gain access to someone's medical record. It should be reliable and it should be safe enough. And one of it, that's why Python today uses encryption. Okay, so when people are taught about Python, they actually tell them to build apps that uses HTTPS, all right? secure, to try to make sure that people's data are safe and secure. Please let's move to the next slide. Okay, so Python's role in automating healthcare processes cannot be overstated. Therefore, learning Python is no longer a choice, but a requirement for careers related to drug discovery. If, for instance, someday you want to also venture into the medical world, you want to help in the advancement of discoveries, it would be nice for you to learn Python because it goes beyond just producing gaming apps, right? It can also help in real life situations. So let me ask my question before time is finally up. I have questions, please, the last slide. Okay, so my question is very simple and very straight to the point. What aspect of Python is used to gather information? A, natural language processing, B, Django, C, fast API, D, pyramid. Please, can someone quickly answer before time is up? What aspect of Python is used to gather information? Anybody? Anybody?
Yeah, I think it's a natural language processing,
Yeah,
NLP.
thank you very much. Okay, so Python can be used for the identification and risk stratification of services patients. True or false? I think I would have preferred the chorus answer here because I've mentioned that. True or false?
True.
True, yeah, thank you. Okay, so what are EHRs and EMRs? EHRS and EMRS, what does it mean? I think I mentioned that as well.
Electronic health record or
Yeah,
electronic medical records.
thank you very much. I'm glad we are responding. Okay, so please, can you move to my last slide while I wait for questions? Does anybody want to ask me a question? So please, do you have a question for me, please?
Um, I don't think there's enough time for that. It's actually not a question, it's more of like a contribution because I'm kind of big on healthcare system. So maybe next time, when there's enough time, I will talk about that.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Aya. Thank you for helping me share screen. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being available for today's schedule. Please do have a productive day. Try to check the schedule for yours and please show up. Thank you, everyone. Do have a productive day.